Well, before I get started, I guess the best thing to say is that up front, I am a shareholder. I don't own a lot of shares in Harley Davidson. I bought my shares in Harley Davidson right when Robbie Starbuck told us that we all needed to kill the company, which he actually advocated for on his Twitter account. At that point, the stocks were lower in part because of the way that Harley Davidson dealt with some of its DEI practices at Harley Davidson. And I can show you exactly, if I can pull this up here for you in real time, where where Harley Davidson sort of sits in terms of DEI, and where it right here, if you go to this down at the bottom of the page and hit sustainability, if you click on that link right there, you can see it. DEI is still at Harley Davidson. And how do I know that? Because it talks about environmental, social, and governance. So DEI is still at Harley Davidson. It hasn't gone away, as Robbie Starbuck said. So that's my preface to talk about what's happening with H Partners. They are throwing down the gauntlet against the Harley Davidson board, and this Free the Eagle campaign, which this is on their website. If you're a shareholder, and you follow the market a little bit, the board members make filings at the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, and in those letters, if you read them, then you can see what they are doing, and also they'll point to any websites or any further information. In the SEC filing, I've seen nobody else talk about this on YouTube, though a lot of people are commenting about this. I want to give you more of an in-depth reality check of what's going on here. This is high stakes boardroom politics going on, and H Partners is kind of out on a limb a little bit. Now, they're the largest stakeholders you see here. If I circle with my mouse here, 9.1% of an ownership stake makes them the majority shareholder, but they're not the majority shareholder overall. They only own 9.1. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get shareholders to now immediately throw out the three top people: Jochen Zeitz, so they state it right here, Jochen Zeitz, Thomas Limbarger, and then Sarah Levinson. They want them gone immediately. Now, this escalated rather quickly, I would say. If you remember back when this story broke, back when the Durderville memo was redacted but more or less published, he said that he raised objections. Harley fired back with a memo that said something along the lines of, hey, you voted for everybody. And that may be true, but H Partners has always held that what Durderville tried to do was behind the scenes, privately, quietly, get the company to change their direction. Now, you would think that, that might be backed up with a no vote. But anyway, that's where we are. I actually kind of believe Durderville that he raised private objections, but in the end, Harley is also, it looks more likely correct that he voted with them. Nevertheless, he tried to raise objections quietly, and I do kind of believe that. Now, this is high stakes, as I said before, because they're only 9.1% of the ownership stake in Harley Davidson, and what they're trying to do is stated right here. They want all shareholders to not vote. Basically, what happens is that there will be a proxy card, which, by the way, has already been sent out, and I already voted. I voted against every single board member, all of them. So what they'll do is they're encouraging us not to vote by the white proxy card. They're going to send out their own special proxy card before the final vote, which is somewhere around May. I think it's around May, early part of May. So let's delve into this just a little bit more. This is the website right here. It's freetheeagle.com. By the way, just on the face of it, I am totally on board with what H Partners is doing. I cannot disagree with anything that they're talking about here. And they're not talking about DEI or anything like that. That's kind of omitted from all of this. But what they are talking about is the health of Harley and returning Harley to a sustainable, not a DEI sustainable, but a sustainable country that takes care of its shareholders and also prolongs the longevity of the company. So this is their stakeholder toolkit. This is a PDF. I went to their website today and it's gone. I don't know why this is gone. I think H Partners, I don't know if they took it down. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe they're revising it. So I downloaded this last night, literally April 22nd. So what are they trying to do here? They're trying to get, if you read here on page 2 of this PDF, they're trying to get Harley Davidson's 3 shareholders, or excuse me, 3 leaders, Jochen-Zeitz, Limbarger, Levinson, out immediately. Their rationale for this is because, hey, you say you're going to retire, but the company is in dire straits. There's no reason for you to stick around. And part of the reason why there's no reason for you to stick around is because you're not sticking around anyway. There's some rumors floating around out there, but H Partners alludes to the fact that Jochen-Zeitz has been an absent CEO. He's hardly ever there. He's in like Africa, doing his kumbaya thing down there on his, how many acres? 150,000 acres or something like that of some sort of wildlife reserve or something. So the guy's heart is really not in the company, but if you followed my videos at all, I talked about Jochen-Zeitz not really caring about Harley Davidson anyway. He is a mission guy that wants to just sort of remake the world, and that never makes for a good businessman ever. So they're encouraging all their shareholders to wait for the blue proxy card that they're going to send out. I have not received it yet, and then vote withhold. If the members of the leadership do not receive 50% plus 1 of the vote, then I think the tradition here is, and they might state it in this if I recall, that everybody has to resign. The whole board has to resign. Shareholder value destruction. You'll see here that this is sort of the linchpin of why they want all 3 of these board members gone. Zeitz, Limbarger, and Levinson have been on the board for 18, 17, and 29 years, and the change is overdue, they say here right at the end. I can't agree more. I totally agree. These guys have run the company into the ground. The underperformance of Harley Davidson under Zeitz is undebatable. I see people, some people on the web, Harley people who love Harley Davidson say that that's not exactly true. But yeah, it is. On the bottom line, it's actually true because there has been, this is a fact, almost $2 billion in decline in market value. And as Durderville and H Partners in this letter or memo is stating, Harley Davidson has not kept up with peer companies, nor have they kept up with the growth, generally speaking, on several market indexes. Those are all factually true. So, so this is more of them telling people what to do, and then they get into frequently asked questions, and this is where they state again, withhold your vote on all 3. Now, this is interesting. This is the one thing I wanted to talk about is H Partners is our friend, I would say at this moment, because what they want to do is is change the company from its direction. I think everybody could get on board with that. But are they, and how they want to change it, is that necessarily going to be pleasing to Harley Davidson customers and people who support the company, which I consider myself both? That remains to be seen. As I noted in my last video, and I talked about what's happening at Harley Davidson and predicted that there would be that the boardroom would be just in a shambles, and that something like this was coming. Apple went through this in 1997, and for Apple, it turned out great. And the reason why it turned out great for Apple is because Steve Jobs came back and fired everyone on the board, and that made Apple what it is today. That is now kind of being ruined by the new CEO. I mean, good CEOs are hard to come by, and two good CEOs, that's really hard to come by. But anyway, the three reasons they have here is that they care because they're invested in the firm. You got to give them kudos for at least admitting the reason why we care about what happens at Harley Davidson is because we've invested in the firm. True. That's actually to be expected. As a Harley rider myself, someone who restores, or I like the word preservation of Harleys, preserve them, old ones in particular, I have an interest in it, but I also own shares. So I have a double interest in this company. They also believe that the Durderville letter should be followed. And we went through that letter in the last video. You can go see that. But they also believe that there's still significant value that can be realized at Harley Davidson. Now, this is where they, right here is where I talked about earlier about Durderville saying he raised things privately, but it was rejected. And then the response from Harley Davidson was, you voted with us the whole time. What's the problem? You'll notice, by the way, that Harley Davidson never said, well, Durderville never raised any objections privately. They kind of affirmed that he did. And so they explain this more here, that Durderville tried to talk these people off the ledge, and they refused to do it. The second thing that they talk about, or that they make the case for at freetheeagle.com, is that Durderville believes that the three people in question, Zeitz, Limbarger, and Levinson, I would say misinformed the board. They tried to quash dissenting opinions, and they ran the board as in a closed shop, a closed mind shop. They didn't allow in certain ideas. Now, if that's true, that's not illegal by a SEC standard, but it is troubling for a company that does something like that. You need to kind of think out of the box. Now, when you think out of the box a little bit, and by the way, but when I say think out of the box, I mean think out of the box of the leadership. So when Zeitz came in and he started an electric motorcycle, which is a miserable failure, that sort of is thinking outside of the box, I guess, initially. But after he came on as CEO, he quashed dissenting opinions. That's kind of what H Partners is saying here. And when you, if you're going to redirect the company in a positive direction, if you're a shareholder right here, your investment is at risk. If you want to minimize that risk, then what you have to have then, especially because the decline in the stock and the decline in sales at Harley Davidson, you have to have an explosion of ideas. And that's the only way it works at any company at any time. So anyway, I would keep an eye on this. If you go to freetheeagle.com, you can right here, you can send them your email and they will keep you updated on what's happening. And also, if you anonymously want to, blow off some steam here and talk about Harley Davidson's got to change, Jochen Zeitz is, a soy boy or whatever, you can send that in here. I'm sure that they will keep it anonymous for obvious reasons. At least let's hope they do. So anyway, everything else here on this PDF, which I will try to share. If people send me a note and you can't get to it on the freetoeagle.com website, I can try and post that on YouTube, but I'm not sure they allow that. So anyway, buckle up, Buttercup. Things are going to get really, really dicey at Harley Davidson. H Partners, bottom line, H Partners is in a risky position because they only own 9%, but they need a great, another 40%. Yeah, maybe a little more. 41% of the shareholders to vote withhold to get rid of these yahoos. All right, hang loose. Stay tuned. This stuff, this is an evolving story, and I would, wait, sort of wait for things to fare out. People want to jump on and give you their 2 cents about what's happening, but it's always better to wait a day or two when things break. So, things sort of settle, and then you can make your own reliable decisions and see what's happening. But in the end, this is good for Harley. All of this is good news. And H Partners is in a risky proposition here, but damn, kudos to them for doing this. I'm totally on board. Hang loose. Hang loose. See you next time.